In 1994, in a quiet American suburb, a teenage Boy Scout was secretly building a nuclear reactor in his backyard. Not a model, not a school experiment, a real radioactive device. His name was David Hahn. He was 17, and no one around him had any idea how far he had already gone. His obsession began the way many dangerous things do, with curiosity that didn't stop. While other teenagers moved on from chemistry kits and science magazines, David kept going deeper into nuclear physics. Isotopes, radiation sources, chain reactions, reactor design. Most people stop at theory. David didn't. He decided he wanted to build a breeder reactor, the kind that produces more nuclear material than it consumes. There was just one problem. Reactors require radioactive elements, and teenagers are not supposed to have them. So David found them anyway. He began writing letters, dozens of them, to nuclear agencies, laboratories, and companies that handled radioactive materials. But he didn't present himself as a kid. He wrote like a researcher. Polite, technical, persistent. He asked about thorium, americium, radiation sources, isotope extraction. And astonishingly, some organizations replied. They sent information, guidance, even small samples, enough to convince him he was on a legitimate scientific path. But that was only the beginning. Because David discovered something most people never realize. Radioactive materials exist inside ordinary objects. Smoke detectors contain americium. Old luminous clock dials contain radium. Camping lantern mantles contain thorium. So he started collecting them, relentlessly. He bought smoke detectors in bulk. He scavenged antique clocks. He ordered lantern mantles by the box. Then he dismantled them, extracting radioactive material grain by grain. Night after night, alone. In a small shed behind his house, the pieces started coming together. David lined parts of the structure with lead bricks for shielding. He assembled improvised lab apparatus from jars, foil, wiring, and glass. He built containment structures, radiation collectors. And he was attempting something critical. A neutron source, the key step toward initiating nuclear reactions. From the outside, it looked like a cluttered backyard shed. Inside, David believed he was assembling a reactor core. And the unsettling part is, he wasn't entirely wrong. He wasn't just collecting radioactive sources, he was extracting and concentrating material. Some of the substances he produced were measurably radioactive, far above natural background levels. Without realizing it, a suburban teenager had turned a backyard shed into a small, uncontrolled radiological site. And still, no one knew. For months, David lived in two worlds. By day, ordinary suburban life. By night, nuclear experimentation. He kept pushing further, refining materials, improving shielding, adjusting his setup. Each small success convinced him he was getting closer to a real reaction. He believed he was on the edge of something extraordinary. But dangerous obsessions rarely stay hidden forever, and David's surfaced in an unexpected way. In 1995, police encountered him during an unrelated incident. While interacting with him, officers noticed unusual materials in his vehicle. Containers, tools, equipment that clearly didn't belong to an ordinary teenager. Suspicion grew. Authorities went to his home, and then they opened the shed. Inside was a makeshift nuclear lab. Radioactive materials, contaminated tools, experimental apparatus, shielding bricks, all assembled by a 17-year-old working alone. Radiation readings were high enough to alarm investigators. Federal agencies were called in. The Environmental Protection Agency declared the structure a radiological hazard. The shed and its contents were dismantled and removed as low-level radioactive waste. A suburban backyard had become a federal nuclear cleanup site. David Hahn was not treated as a criminal mastermind or terrorist. Investigators quickly understood what they were looking at. This was not weaponization, not ideology, not malice. It was curiosity pushed past every normal boundary. Access, training, safety, permission, until a teenager was literally handling nuclear materials behind his house. For a brief moment in the 1990s, in suburban America, a boy had come closer to private nuclear experimentation than anyone thought possible. And imagine this, after all of that, he didn't become a nuclear scientist. He grew up, lived an ordinary life, and died at 39. But as a teenager, he had gone far enough that his backyard lab was dismantled as radioactive waste. Which makes you wonder, if no one had opened that shed, how far would he have gone? Stories like this remind us how thin the line is between curiosity and danger. If you're drawn to real stories of people who crossed impossible boundaries, subscribe to Protagonist Stories.